Every economic problem that we're facing in this country right now, student loan debt being just out of control, the government shutdown, SNAP benefits being cut, health insurance premiums about to go through the roof, your rent going up, your pay stagnating, groceries just being astronomical, is because reparations were never paid after the Civil War. Let me explain. After the Civil War, the Union, the North won and the South was defeated, but the South was never punished. The Confederacy lived on in the ideology of the people, of the white people of the South. Reparations were never paid to Black Americans. They were never really truly given the opportunity to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, to rise up and become equal members of this country, equal citizens. They've been fighting for their equality since then. They've never actually truly achieved it. So when white people hear a promise from Donald Trump et al. That we're gonna run the country like a business, to them that sounds appealing. They're like, oh yeah, because you know what? I'm a business owner. I own this country because I'm white. When Black and brown people hear, well, we're gonna run the country, run the government like a business, they understand what that means because they've been dealing with it for centuries. White people think that they are on the side of the owners, the masters, but they're not. Most white people have more in common with the Black and brown people that they look down upon. They are closer to them in the economic tax bracket than they are to the white billionaires whose asses they kiss. But listen to them glazing billionaires, especially on this app. I make $50,000 a year, but I have more in common with Jeff Bezos than I do with George Floyd. Bullshit! The only reason the lie of let's run this country like a business appealed to you is because you thought you would benefit. And now here you are. Now here you are understanding that when they say we're going to run this country like a business, that means they're going to profit off of your ass. That means that if you take $100,000 loan out to go to college, you will be in debt to the federal government until the day you fucking die. You borrowed 100 grand, prepare to repay 300 grand because they're running the government like a business now. And guess what? You're a customer, not an owner. The government exists to serve us, not to profit off of us. And we will continue to have these problems until y'all get your fucking minds right.
Why is gas $5 a gallon? And like, why do I have to pay rent? And why is rent so high? And why do I have to drive my car and get the gas that I have to go to the job that I have to pay for rent? Why do I have to do all of that stuff? And why are you making it so fucking expensive to do it? I don't even want to get out and pump my gas. It feels like getting out and just knowing someone's gonna fucking stab you. Why would you get out? This is beginning. This is the beginning of life. What am I supposed to do forever? I have to get a fucking horse.
I cannot stand how the news has been dogging Gen Z and calling them lazy for not wanting to work a 9-to-5 for the rest of their lives. Let me put it in perspective for everybody who's a little confused here, okay? I work 5 days out of the week, 40 hours a week, okay? I do not make enough to live on my own. I would not make enough to pay rent, water, electric, and eat. All by myself. I would not be capable of doing that. 20 years ago when you were getting started, you could live on your own. 20 years ago when you first started, you were able to do everything that I am now struggling to do. Let me add another perspective here. You've been working for 20 years. You have 20 years of working experience behind your belt. You have 20 years of experience in a career that has allowed you to gain raises, to get more money, to profit you in an economy that you created. You can sit here and you can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but I've been working my tail end off just to barely make it by. And respectfully, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to work my tail end off, wasting all of my life working just to barely be able to pay my bills. And that is what you created, not Gen Z. We're just here getting started. You've been doing it for the last 20 years. You tell me how it got ruined. We can sit here and we can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but you let the economy turn into what it did. You let it all run to hell. And now it's Gen Z's fault because we don't want to work to fix your mistakes.
I'm fucking stressed out. I'm fucking stressed. We should not be working like this. I work my ass off and I can't even fucking pay bills, bro. And they always say don't compare yourself to others, but I see people going to Coachella, and like buying all types of shit, just pointless money, and I'm over here and can't even fucking pay my fucking rent, bro.
State become too expensive for young people to live here? A new study says yes.
In 2023 alone, more than 500,000 people left Florida. That is the most that the state has ever seen, according to research report by the Florida Chamber Foundation. WE News reporter Asha Patel joins us now live in downtown Fort Myers. And Asha, what is the average age of the people who are moving out of Florida?
Well, Russ, the average age is 32 years old, and the report went on to say that the biggest reason people are moving out of the state is for job opportunities. Some people call the state of Florida paradise.
Have always been in love with Florida. You know, this is paradise. We live in paradise, right?
But according to a recent report by Florida Chamber Foundation, people are moving away from paradise.
I have seen the trend of people leaving, and it's kind of sad, to be honest.
The report says in 2023, Florida saw an inflow of nearly 637,000 people from other states, the highest in the country. But there was also nearly 511,000 people who left Florida for another state, making it the largest outflow the state has seen and the second most in 2023, right behind the state of California. Sergio Munez says he's had friends and family move out of the state.
I think that's the hardest thing right now is, you know, obviously the cost of living has gone up a lot, and it's become a lot harder to live here, to find a place to live.
I spoke to a realtor, Denny Grimes, and asked, are you putting more for sale signs in front of homes?
Well, I have had clients that have had to redo their home and then had to redo it again this past year, and they're kind of tired of it. So we are having that exodus, and there's fewer people that are leaving, there are more people leaving because of the hurricanes, and it seems to be kind of repetitive.
But cost of living and hurricanes are not the only factors causing people to move away. For people between the ages of 20 to 29 years old, the U.S. Census data shows one of the second most cited reasons for moving out of Florida was job opportunities outside of the state.
Just thinking this morning about our country and late stage capitalism and cost of living and how much money everyone has to make to even afford to have a family these days. And it's what, like $250,000 minimum? Yeah, John and I have 2 kids and we don't make close to that. Not even close. Try like at least $100,000 less than that. So we're barely making it. And we have 2 good high paying jobs as an electrical engineer and a nurse. Now, everyone always says like, they make so much money, you guys should be doing so much better. They don't make that much money, okay? And the fact that the wages haven't gone up with inflation means we've been getting pay cuts basically the last 4 years. So we're not doing okay. Nobody's doing okay in this economy. This is what we're so upset about. And then you add in authoritarianism and fascism on top of that. Like, what kind of country are we leaving for our kids where we teach them it's okay that they go to school and then their friends are missing the next day because they were rounded up by ICE? This is not an okay world. This is what I don't want to leave my kids. This is what I want to protect them from. This is one of the reasons why we're moving to Europe. I'm tired of it. I haven't even touched on healthcare. That's a whole other story that we've spent over $10,000 a year on for the last 4 years. Childcare. $24,000 a year. Just so that I can go to work and not spend time with my kids. It's fucking insane. How does anybody live in this world? Like, how does anybody make that $250,000 every single year to just like be okay? I don't know anyone else except for like doctors who are doing fine. What are we going towards? What is the end goal here? Like, is anybody else as upset as I am seeing everything that's going on? I mean, I'm just ranting this morning. Sometimes I'm just getting in my thoughts and my feels, and I can't believe that this is the reality.
My argument is, if the American economy is doing great as this government wants us to believe, if that is the case, then why are there many more and more young white Americans coming on these online spaces saying that crying that they can't afford rent, groceries, homes, or even just basic survival anymore? And here is actually the uncomfortable part. What these people are experiencing right now is what Black people and poor communities have been screaming about for generations in the same country. The only difference now is the fire has finally reached the doorsteps of the people who maybe probably thought they were maybe fireproof. And this is not to celebrate anybody's suffering, but maybe there could be a silver lining in this dark cloud, because could it be the moment when finally, white America also, sees the truth, or they're finally also exposed and it could be the turning point? I don't know, but let's continue to watch and I'll be back with some good commentary.
I'm just on here wondering if anybody's feeling the same way I'm feeling. I'm from Illinois, and I feel like the gas prices and the electric bills and the prices of food is just so overwhelming anymore. Like, I'm wondering if anybody else is feeling like they're drowning and they can't get out. I work overtime, and I cannot get above water. I mean, I literally have no gas for next week. It was either that or get a few groceries to get by. I hit my local food pantries. I'm just wondering if anybody else feels like they're drowning. But anyway, I hope everybody has a great day.
I'm not gonna fucking make it in this fucking world because, like, tell me why I just went to fucking Kroger's and got groceries. I just got paid today. My last fucking paycheck. And I spent $73 fucking dollars on popcorn, crackers, Cheez-Its, milk, ranch dressing, tomatoes. Just basic shit, man. Like, a box of fucking Cheez-Its and a box of fucking crackers was $5 a fucking piece. The ranch dressing was fucking $5. The tomatoes were $4. Like, the milk is $7 a gallon, and my kid drinks 3 gallons a week. That's $20 fucking dollars. Like, how the fuck did I barely get any goddamn food, and it's $73 fucking dollars? Like, what the fuck am I gonna do?
I need to have a vent session for a second about the state of affairs in this country. So I have 2 adult children. One is 18 going on 19 and the other one is 21. My 18-year-old is working currently as an HVAC apprentice and working on getting certified, but he's making $16 an hour, which I live in a small to mid-sized Missouri town, so that's pretty typical around here. Wages are, low compared to a lot of places, but so is the cost of living. But he would also not like to be living at home with mom forever. He's more of like an independent, autonomous person, so apartment living is not for him at all. He wants a place where he can have his truck and his dirt bikes and be able to work on motors and have the freedom to do what he wants with the place and also be able to have all of his stuff. And at this point, honestly, renting a house would cost more than a mortgage payment anyway, but he's been looking for houses and just trying to figure out what he can afford and what he can do. And he found this place that was only $125,000, which is dirt cheap around here. That just doesn't exist anymore, but it had no basement. It was on a slab foundation, I think, and probably needed some work, which he is naturally talented at that stuff. He works in HVAC. He's very mechanically inclined. He can do this stuff. So he's not afraid of a fixer-upper. Found out that the main reason it was priced so cheap is because it was in a flood zone. So it was a no anyway. But keep in mind, $125,000 house in this economy. And when we looked up to see if he did a 5% down payment on this thing with, your insurance and PMI and taxes and everything, his payment would still be $1,100 a month for a cheap piece of crap house. And just the look of absolute dread on his face when he realized how completely unaffordable and unattainable it is for him to be able to buy a house and live on his own. Now, my oldest son just turned 21. He's been waiting to turn 21 because he wants to get into the cannabis industry. And it's just like the alcohol industry, where if you want to be like a brewer or a bartender, you have to be 21 in order to do it. So this past week, Thursday, he interviewed for a job with a grower. And just a couple of days ago, he was offered the position and officially accepted it. And in that time, less than a week, we decided to start a war with Iran. And so when he interviewed for the job, gas prices were around $2.50 a gallon where I'm at, and now they are already at $3 a gallon and climbing. So just in the time between when he interviewed for this job and when he accepted this job, gas prices have gone up 50 cents a gallon, and they're not done climbing yet. And this is an issue because this job, there's a lot of dispensaries here in town where if he had, ended up there, he'd probably be a little bit better off. But this was the job opening that was available at the time for him to get into the industry. And it is a farm, which is 30 miles up the interstate from where we live. So now he is going to be driving one way to work 30 miles at a time when gas prices are going through the roof, because we decided it was a good idea to start a completely unwarranted, unjustified, and unnecessary war with Iran. And I'm now sitting here thinking about my own situation, where my own currently hourly wage is, and considering if I was their age, if I was just starting out. So thinking about buying the same house that I live in right now at its current value, at current interest rates, with the same percent down payment that I paid for this house back in 2017. And I realized that my payment would be double what it currently is. And I, as a 40-year-old woman who has been working for 24 years of my life, could not afford this place on my own. Like at 40 years old, I would need a roommate in order to live in this very modest, like 1,300 square foot, 1968 ranch style home. Like it's not a fancy house by any stretch. It's what most people would consider to be essentially a starter home by today's standards. And I could not afford it on my own on my current wages. So my question is, how the hell are we expecting these young kids to do it? Like for someone to start out, even in my area, in like rural Missouri, they would have to make $30 an hour in order to be earning a living wage, in order to live on their own and support themselves without the help of a spouse or a roommate, just for a single person to live and make it on their own, to be able to afford a vehicle payment, vehicle insurance, a mortgage or rent payment, and all of the utilities and groceries and cell phone bills and stuff that go along with just living your life. That's no fun stuff. It's just to live. They would need to make $30 an hour. Meanwhile, we have a government that is more interested in starting wars and harassing other countries and harassing immigrants that are living in this country than they are with their own people, than they are with helping the working class in any way, shape, or form with any kind of meaningful legislation or reform. We have a do-nothing Congress that is sitting on their hands and doing absolutely nothing to help any of the working class people. I'm mad about it for myself, but I'm even more mad about it for my children. Something needs to change. Something's got to give. And frankly, at the midterms, like it would be great if the Democrats are able to take over, because at least they'll do something to stop the nonsense that is happening in the executive branch that is going on unchecked. But are they going to do anything to actually help the working class people? At the end of the day, even the Democrats are doing the absolute bare minimum to be able to claim that they are for the working class, because they, right along with the Republicans, are taking money from wealthy campaign donors, and any policy, any legislation that they pass ultimately is going to help them and not us. So where does this end? How far does this go before we, the people, cannot afford to live no matter what age we are?
And it's especially bad the young people can't afford homes. Let me just put a very precise point on this. If you want a measure of how your economy is doing, GDP, no, I don't know what even that is, the total economic activity. Oh, no. My measure is really simple. I got a bunch of kids, can they afford houses with full-time jobs at like 27, 28? And the answer is no way. And the answer is that 35-year-olds with really good jobs can't afford a house unless they stretch and go deep into debt. That's a complete disaster. Why? Two reasons. One, if people don't own things, they don't feel ownership of the country they're in. And the country gets super volatile because people feel like they've got nothing to lose. When you have a lawn, trust me, you're thinking long term. Second, it's really hard to have a family without a house. It's like super fun to live in an apartment if, there's like a bar downstairs, you're in a cool neighborhood. I'm in East Village, it's so cool. So you're not gonna have 3 kids there, you can't. Nobody wants to raise their kids in that neighborhood. Nobody wants to raise their kids in an apartment. People do it because they have to. Nobody wants to. People want a little house, not some McMansion, just a little normal house. That is the actual American dream. And that is what is totally unattainable for young people.
Welcome to America, where we work to live and live to work. Where we spend hundreds of thousands on a home that we barely get to step foot in because the hours we work to pay for it keeps us away from it. Where we buy a car just to drive it to a job that barely pays enough to keep the gas tank full. Where our healthcare system will bankrupt you faster than the illness can kill you. Where getting sick is the business motto and the cure is priced like a luxury. Welcome to America, where the food is fake, the water's tainted, and the air we breathe is up for sale. Where the richest 1% own more than the bottom half combined, and they still tell us to work harder. Where we chase the American dream only to find out it was designed to stay out of reach. And every time we get close to the finish line, they just inch it a little further back. Where school doesn't teach you how to live, just how to obey, comply, and clock in. Where education comes with a lifetime of debt and the diploma is nothing more than a receipt for money that you ain't never gonna see again. Welcome to America, where we pay taxes to keep the lights on in government buildings we ain't never even allowed to enter. Where your rights are written in pencil and erased when it's inconvenient. Where justice depends on your income and the law bends to the highest bidder. Welcome to America, where they tell you if you don't like it, then leave, without realizing we had ties to this land before there was even an America, where your labor is valued, but your life is disposable. Welcome to America, where mental health is a crisis, but therapy is a luxury that most can't even afford, where they sell you fast fashion, fast food, and the fast entertainment to keep you distracted from the slow theft of your soul and your spirit, where the news is scripted, the truth is filtered, and history is rewritten to protect the guilty. Welcome to America, where the people who run this country don't live like the people who keep it running. Welcome to America, where survival is success, where we've been trained to call this living, but in reality, we barely breathing. Welcome to America.
This system is broken, y'all. People are fed up. People are fed up. It's time to do something about it.
Just got denied from Walmart as a cashier. I have a fucking master's degree, bro. I went to school for 12 years, got my high school degree. I went to for 4 years to get my bachelor's, and then I went for an extra 2 years to get my fucking master's. You know how much school that is? It's a lot. And the worst part is, oh, maybe it's the best part actually. America, the government probably thinks it's the best part, huh? I'm $120,000 in debt. Yeah, because society wants to tell you to go to school, go to college, get your degree, Timmy. Oh my God, job security. Shut up. Please stop spreading that, because now I'm screwed and I have no idea what to do. I've applied to over 300 companies and I've gotten response back from 11 of them. Why the fuck do you think I'm applying to Walmart to be a cashier? Because no one is hiring. Why do you even post a job offering? You're not going to hire anyone who'll respond. What are people doing for work? I need to figure something out. Because if I wasn't doing UGC for brands that I found on SideShift, my ass would be homeless. I would be fucking homeless.
Did you guys hear about the employee that burned down this warehouse in California, a 1 million square foot warehouse in California, all because it wasn't paying them enough? 1 million square footage?
Say this massive warehouse fire was allegedly the work of a disgruntled employee. Stunning new video appears to show the start of the fire. In the footage posted to social media, you hear someone say, all you had to do was pay us enough to live, as stacks of toilet paper burned.
All you had to do was pay us enough.
America has become completely unaffordable, and I don't know why more people are not talking about this. Half of America doesn't even have a savings, rent is insane, healthcare is a luxury, and somehow the narrative is still people are just bad with money. Like, what money? People are working full-time, most people have 2 to 3 jobs anymore because you have to. At what point do we stop blaming the people and just accept the fact that the cost of living has simply just outpaced reality? Because everything is this expensive, you have to know exactly where all of your money is going anymore. Like, a budget is just simply a necessity. You have to have one. Started using a budgeting app like mine to figure out where all of my money is going, but it does not make up for the fact that America is too expensive to live in anymore. If you're struggling, you are not alone.
There's something wrong in this country telling people it is okay to work 3 jobs, not see your kids, not see your loved ones, not take a vacation, and God forbid you get sick. Okay? And I still got a job at home because I'm a mother. Because let's not forget, I don't get a day off. And I got to figure all that out. How are we going to eat? How are we going to pay rent? How are we going to pay the utility bills? That every single thing went up after COVID. Not one thing stayed the same except salaries. The only thing that stayed the same in this country is the minimum wage. Even though everything else went up. There is no scarcity. It is, how do we pit people against each other so they're too distracted to see everything that I'm too addicted to consuming? And how much profit I'm making, and more profit, how many more houses one individual can have, how many yachts can one individual have, regardless of whether I am a female, male, whatever. I am a human being first. With what conscience are you criminalizing poverty? And it's not going to stop just in the United States. The poor of the world, not just this country, are fed up. And let's not leave out rural communities. I live in Haines City, Polk County, Florida, okay? But do you think that the poor in rural communities have transportation? They don't. There's absolutely not even a sidewalk to walk on because I am giving the message of stay poor, stay hidden, and die silently, okay? If I get a job, how do I get to that job? If I even get it when I'm in a rural community.
Yeah, so what we are witnessing right now is not just economic frustration, it's a slow collapse of an illusion in the system. For decades, America survived on creating two different realities. One, America where struggle, poverty, an America where unemployment, broken schools, police violence, hopelessness, economic abandonment, they were treated as normal because it was happening to mostly Black people and poor communities and marginalized peoples. And then there was another reality, another America where, mostly white Americans, especially, the younger generations growing up inside of privilege, they were protected enough to believe that the system was working perfectly well. But that's not always been the case, But now what is happening, young white Americans are coming out in massive numbers and they're saying they cannot survive. Working full-time no longer guarantees stability. Working 2 or 3 jobs is still not enough, Like college degrees are becoming, more like just expensive decorations. Rent is swallowing people's entire paychecks and, food prices, gas, currently, it's climbing up like a rocket without brakes. And suddenly, the same system that ignored especially Black suffering for generations is now, eating into the lives of people who once really, really trusted it, or we can even say that were once really protected from it. And this changes everything, because historically, America only begins to seriously confront a problem when the problem reaches white America in ways that it cannot deny. Like right now, it's here. It's tough, When Black people complained about inequality, they were labeled as lazy, as people who love to complain. And when Black communities warned about, this economic injustice, the leadership of Donald Trump, they were mocked, they were criminalized and ignored, But now, I can say the children of privilege, are beginning to feel the same pressure. And so the mask is slipping off the very system, And strangely enough, I insist, this could be, the silver lining in that dark cloud, because the system of racism, for example, in America was not created at all by Black people. Black people did not design it. They do not have any means to protect it. They do not have the need to, and they do not benefit from it. If anything, it's entirely the opposite, It was constructed, normalized, reinforced, from the inside, that is the white power structures. So, which means the same people in the strongest position, and this has always been my argument, to dismantle the system and racism altogether are the very people inside the system who benefit from it. Those that are, now beginning to suffer under the same machine, So that's why this moment, really, I can say it matters. Not because suffering is good to white people. Neither is suffering good to people of color, but because a shared suffering, has a way of exposing lies, faster than speeches, than politics, because of course politics is continuing to, cause more problems at the same time as it exposes the real true nature of America, and the economy did not suddenly start to become broken. This economy is not suddenly broken. The system has been broken, but there are people who have never felt it exactly how it is. Some people are only just beginning, they're being introduced to the crack in the floor. that we can really say that many people of color, have been forced to walk on for generations. For them, they thought maybe the floor was smooth and flawless. Now they're beginning to feel it. And, you know, just maybe, and I say just maybe, when the fire finally reaches every doorstep, you know, not just of poor people, not just black, not just, you know, immigrants, you know, America will finally stop arguing about whether the house is really burning, and maybe they can start talking about how to save it all together. Or, you know, perhaps those that started the fire or didn't listen when they were told that the fire is burning can start trying to find a way to put out this fire. Yeah, so that's my take on it. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, welcome. Please subscribe to the channel and become part of us, and I'll really appreciate. So with that, I'll see you in the next video.